We're up here in Eshbralley, which is in the Knox area just outside Listonskea, and it's part of the greater Slieve Bay area. Probably 3 or 4 years ago I was told about a prehistoric site up here in this peatland, and it was described to me as being 3 stones, and it was believed to be a stone circle. So I done a little bit of research online, and it came up as quick as I probably could, and sure enough there was what is described as a stone circle. So whenever I come up and look at sites, sometimes it's about the context of the landscape. The landscape up in Slieve Bay tends to be, it's either like this here, it's peatland, forestry or grassland, and here we have sort of all 3 in this little corner of Eshbralley. But you often get a cluster of sites, sometimes of features. So I took a little walk around, and I'd say I was walking for maybe around about an hour, and I came across this little guy here. So this is a Stanton stone, and it's about 100, maybe 120 meters due south of what is described as a stone circle. There are about 51 Stanton stones recorded in County Fermanagh. So this is now the 52nd, because this has been authenticated. And people often ask, what is the functionality of Stanton stones? And there's a lot of theories out there. Some of them are a little bit off the wall, but the main sort of theories maybe are that, like, they could be ceremonial. But the 2 main theories is that they're boundary markers or possibly route markers. And the reason this stone is interesting to me is that I believe that this is a route marker. Now, sometimes Stanton stones can come across as being very sort of random in the landscape. And there's an estimate, and it's maybe a guesstimate, that there are only about 10% of Stanton stones still in situ. So if you're missing a load of the jigsaw, it's hard to get the picture. And so therefore sometimes these Stanton stones, as I say, can appear random just in the landscape. But I believe that when people in prehistoric society, I think whenever they came up, probably from this direction here, and they seen this Stanton stone, they knew that ultimately they were very close to their end point, the destination that they were going to, and that is that stone circle over here. And this is why I think this Stanton stone is a good example of a route marker. It may also have been even a boundary marker, because, as I say, it is kind of, you know, the grassland over there, the forestry there, but it's very difficult to say, because 3,000 years ago, when this was socketed into the ground, you know, the landscape may have been slightly different then.
On the ground lies the dirt from yesterday.
So we're actually up in this, what was described to me a couple of years ago, this stone circle up in Eshbralley. And the first thing I'd want to say is, from my point of view, once you go inside a stone circle, you're going inside a sacred area. So I always ask permission to come in to that area. Now, as you can see, there was what was described as 3 stones. And when I read up about this, there was a couple of little things that didn't ring true. The first thing is that 3 stones doesn't make a stone circle, it makes a triangle. And the other thing that slightly didn't ring true with me, although I'm not saying it's not true, is that it was described by a farmer who said that there were more stones here, but that some of them had been taken. And as I say, something about that just didn't ring true. So when I came up, I looked at the 3 stones, and as beautiful as they were, I did on the second time, I took a little walk around, sort of trying to imagine what the circumference would have been if there was a stone circle here. And literally within probably 5 or 6 minutes, I found this stone here. So this is the recumbent stone. If you actually look at it, this probably was actually the biggest stone of the 4 or possibly 5th. I'd say it's about 5 foot there. Now that's not an exact measurement. It's about 5 foot, and if that was standing, it'd be at least that height. And you can see, similar to this stone here, you can see this carving stroke weathering stroke rock art on the top of it as well. So this is one of the reasons you would know it's part of this stone circle, because it's the same type of stone. It's sandstone, and this even authenticates it more, the fact that this here is extremely similar to this one over here. So it's great to add to this little stone circle, or what I described as a triangle originally, 3 stones. So there's definitely 4, possibly a 5th one, that little small one, and who knows what is even underneath this blanket bog. I then went round and looked a little bit more, and there is another little stone here. If this one is part of that stone circle, or if it's natural, that is up for debate. I'd like to think it is, because it starts to then evolve into a stone circle. There's supposed to be, I think, around 17 stone circles or stone alignments in County Fermanagh. So we have a rich history of stone circles in the county. But this definitely is one of the more, for me, one of the more unique ones, because it's extremely small. It is actually the smallest stone circle I've ever seen. And it's a beautiful stone circle. Why it is here in the context, somebody said to me, it does seem very low lying in this peatland, and I get that. And the other thing is, I did find these 2 stones. One of them has been authenticated, but who knows what else has to be uncovered in this area. This area has been worked. You can see some of it over here where there's been turf cutting back in the day. But it is one of those landscapes that you look at and just think that there may be hidden features still unrecognised in this little corner of Eshbralley. Now, what's also interesting about this landscape is just over there, in that where it sort of raises up there a little bit, back in the very late 70s, one of the local farmers found a slab of stone about that length by about that height, and he thought there was something kind of interesting about it. But what it actually was it was 2 cup and ring marks on it, where somebody had been, I think, this is my personal opinion, had been honing their skills in the tradition, the ancient tradition of rock art. And I think maybe like an apprentice, maybe he wasn't happy with that, or maybe she wasn't happy with it, and they just discarded it over there. That slab of rock art is in the County Museum in Enniskillen. So what you have here is a more complete stone circle. We now have added a standing stone, which I believe was a route marker bringing you here. And then over there was rock art found, a slab of it. So this obviously was an area that had some special connection to the people in pre-Christian County Fermanagh. And if you're up here, as we are on a good day, and you can hear the cuckoo, there's no better place to be. And maybe that's what people in pre-Christian, prehistoric Fermanagh seen about this area.